In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided. I am Amit. That is LC. That is KDot. And with us today, the man, the myth, the legend, Mrinal Widge. Mrinal, how you doing, fool?
What's good, boys? I'm doing great. Excited to be with y'all today.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us on that West Coast time. For this episode, so we were missing last week. I was at the most magical place on earth and returned to an incredible tragedy. The Washington football team got railed by the Kansas City Chiefs, so we're going to get into that game. But that honestly somehow was not worse than Sean Taylor's jersey retirement. The organization, Jackson Mahomes, we're going to talk about it all when it comes to that. And then we're going to conclude, NBA is back, okay? Get pumped, boys. The Wizards, new look. Russell Westbrook is gone, and we brought in a lot of pieces. A lot of the talk is around the depth of this team. So we're going to talk about the Wizards. We're going to talk about any sleeper teams we have for the NBA season, and probably give you finals predictions, stuff like that. And then we conclude with the State of the Union, your DC Sports wraparound coverage segment. Shout out the Washington Spirit making the playoffs for the first time since 2016. So we'll get into all that in a bit, but we got to begin with the Washington football team. 31-13 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in a game the Chiefs tried to give to us. I mean, 3 turnovers by the Kansas City Chiefs. The score at halftime, 13-10. No one thought we were going to be up at halftime. There we were. And then didn't score a single point in the second half. The Chiefs ended up scoring 21, though. 31-13 loss. KDot, let's begin with you. What were your thoughts on the game? And just walk me through that Sunday for you.
Clusterfuck of epic proportions. I think that'll start it off for me. I mean, that's the thing is like, well, when looking at this season going in, I've circled this as probably a loss, right? Like going against Kansas City. We know we got Murderers Row coming up. But the fact that we were actually in this game at any particular point in time, just because of you could see guys just not playing discipline. You could see that everything that we've been holding our hat on as far as offense kind of fell apart, especially against the Kansas City defense, which we know can't stop a goddamn thing. So it was just like at the perfect storm of everything going to absolutely dog shit for us. And I think everyone's reevaluating what it is we think about this team coming out of this game. I think that anything you kind of held any hope to was lost. Like that to me is what this Kansas City game did. Was it, all right, maybe the defense will start clicking. At certain points in the game, yeah, the defense looked pretty okay. Like at certain times, there were a couple guys that looked like they were flashing. Chase Young, like he was starting to do more than that one move, so you could stop getting that Brian Arakpo style to me. You had Jamin Davis actually look pretty good, especially in that pressure he had to Mahomes in that one play. You know, Mahomes does Mahomes shit. It's just to see that we were in this game at all is just the microcosm of what it is to be a fan in DC, which is they give you any little bit of hope, and then they take it out, stomp it out, and they take photos in front of porta potties with it. It's just fucking bullshit. Like this is another one of those moments where you have every year where you start thinking, is this the lowest moment we've had as far as being?
Yeah, fair enough. And a good alluding point to the Sean Taylor fiasco that we'll get to in a bit. Mrinal, we've talked about Taylor Heinicke a whole bunch. I mean, trust me, I thought he was the second coming, saw the Tampa Bay game, all that, and in love with the guy. The Chiefs, 32nd in the league in just defense, like literally across the board. They were just terrible defensively. Chris Jones didn't play. Ward didn't play. And Heinicke threw for 182 yards, 24-39, wasn't very good. What were your thoughts on the game? What are your thoughts on Taylor Heinicke moving forward? Fitzpatrick could come back as early as this week.
Well, I think Taylor Heinicke showed us what he is, which is a really good backup. I mean, he's just too inconsistent to be a long-term starter, I think. I mean, I think he's going to have great moments that are going to make us fall in love with him as he already has this year. But on a week-to-week basis, he's not going to come in and just be a stud every week. I mean, he was due for a bad game. He's had how many good games in a row already now, which has surprised a lot of people. I mean, he's the reason we won the 2 games that we did win. So that's the thing. That's what like inconsistent quarterbacks do when they do play a team that they should light up. Like he should have the Chiefs defense. I mean, he's just going to be due for a bad game himself.
No, that makes total sense. And that's the thing. Like, he has played very well for us, but I think in the last couple games, and we didn't do an episode last week, but in that game against New Orleans, he struggled again. So, I mean, this is now 2 straight games where it's been a bit sketchy from him. The most discouraging thing, and KDot, we've talked about Ron Rivera and wanting him to check down more. 0 attempts rushing the ball. I mean, this guy, one of the big reasons we like him is because he can escape, is because he can make plays with his feet. He didn't even attempt to run. I can't help but wonder if he's being held back or if he's actively choosing to do this to try and gain long-term stability, but it's not working. Yeah, go ahead.
That makes me think about health. Like, is he healthy? Is he like confident? And, I can run and I know I can slide, but can I take a hit if that comes? Like, I mean, obviously they would never try to show that out to the world and say like, yeah, our quarterback is a little flimsy because you're just going to make him a target. But not running, considering what we saw in the first few games, I think it's a significant change in his game.
Yeah, it is a significant change in his game, and it's definitely cause for concern, in my opinion. LC, what were your thoughts on the game? And now Washington's 2-4. We're playing the Green Bay Packers next week, and then we got Tampa Bay right around the corner. It is getting sketchy. What were your thoughts, LC?
I was able to catch some parts of the game, not the full thing. I mean, when you look at a half, sometimes to me this happens a lot more in college than in at the professional level. But I think that really, really good teams, when they have a sort of even half, they make these adjustments in the second half that just completely change the game. I wasn't able to see, whether that was the case in this one, but I often see that in like good college teams are supposed to win. Sometimes have like a shitty half. It's like, oh, it's even. The game is even. Then the second half, they just ram you. So I see that happen with some good teams that are really good at adjusting. I think, with the Washington football team, like now that when we're looking back at how we predicted or how we expected them to do, what Mrinal said about Taylor Heinicke feels about the team, just inconsistency, right? Like some weeks we're super happy with the offense, but we were expecting the defense to be great. Now we're sort of like flipping, right? Like talking about some good points of the defense, but like, where's our quarterback? And so I think that is usually what happens with professional teams. Like the ones who make it to the top are the ones that are they're just consistent. Like that is what gets you to the final games, to those decisive moments. So I don't know what to work on. It's hard to just say we got to be more consistent. Like that's easy to say. That's hard to work on. But I think that's definitely going to be something to try to focus on. What are we doing well and continuing that?
Yeah, and I mean, look, the defense had to me, a really good first half. Now, we gave up a ton of yards, but we did generate those turnovers. Some of them were a bit lucky. Like Tyreek Hill, he had it in his hands and it just hit off. And, we ended up getting the interception with Kendall Fuller. By the way, Washington football team, Twitter, make sure it doesn't say Kyle Fuller when you tweet interception. It's Kendall. He's on your team. You pay him. It's Kendall Fuller. So get that right, please. They did a pretty good job because it was 10 points, but third downs, again, 11 of 17 for the Kansas City Chiefs. We cannot get off the field. KDot, seems like you want to say something here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, when I was talking about reevaluating where it is this team is, I think that's been the conversation a lot on Twitter recently, where a lot of people are trying to give Ron Rivera shit, which I think to a certain degree is well worthwhile at this point. But if you look, he inherited a 3-13 team, right? It was a dog shit team. We got 7-9 last year, but if you really look back at last year, you see the amount of quarterbacks worth and grain of salt that we beat. Not a lot of them. You see what it is that we were putting up those stats on defense against just less talented teams, and division that absolutely went to dog shit after Dak Prescott got hurt. So if you want to say, is this a fake team? Is this a team that we were looking at 7-9 and have aspirations being more? Yeah, I guess the fans, we bought into it, but it's not what it is. And
we bought all the way in.
We bought all the way in. I mean, Ron Rivera was on the radio, I think.
Y'all actually thought we were going to win the division.
Easily. I'll 100% admit that. Because I didn't think Dallas's defense was going to wake up the way it has, and Diggs looking like a fucking MVP candidate. The idea for me that you had Ron Rivera a week ago basically say on the radio that, hey, sometimes you kind of want to wish you said that we didn't go 7-9 last year, which is never something you want to hear the head coach say, right? But it's honest, right? Like it's brutally honest in the sense of, yeah, the expectations change. But with that comes this team, and he said it after this game where he said it in the press conference yesterday, what's killing us more than anything is how undisciplined the team plays, how without the chip on the shoulder they play. On defense, the amount of missed tackles I'm seeing is not something you usually see from Ron Rivera team, at least what I'm expecting, or Jack Del Rio-led team. And then when we're talking about making adjustments, like what are you supposed to do as a coach, is where they're failing. As far as getting the guys disciplined, there's a fail there. Making adjustments on offense or defense, there's a fail there. I finally thought that Scott Turner was getting in a good idea with what Taylor was doing well, but it seems as though after he's been turning the ball over a few times the last few weeks, they've been reining it back in and trying to get him to be the game manager, which you've then lost the key ingredient of what makes Taylor Heinicke great. He is the poor man's farm. You got to let him cook. And when you let him cook, you're hoping the defense steps it up. Because the defense hasn't stepped it up, now they're playing this safety sort of football, and it's bullshit. You're not going to win any games with the talent we have on this team and the lack of effort that's being put forth.
Yeah. It's turning into a very depressing season, especially how well Dallas is doing. Like you said, I don't think anyone expected their defense to be as good as it has been. I mean, it's been Trayvon Diggs has been sensational. He has as many touchdowns as Stephon. I mean, that's absurd. That is one of the craziest stats I've seen. Moving forward for the Washington football team at Green Bay, then at Denver, which for us, that's a hard game. Then Tampa Bay comes to us after the bye. At Carolina, who knows what we're going to see there. Seattle, you may have a chance at a couple wins there, but that's like a maximum. I mean, this is a really, really tough spot. Oh, and then the Raiders, who, by the way, are now inspired after John Gruden left and put up 34 in Denver. No problem at all. KDot, you mentioned, making adjustments. Why don't we talk about the organization making some fucking adjustments? Because Sean Taylor had his jersey retired this past Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs, where they had Patrick Mahomes, who is a reigning MVP. That was a great idea to have it against that team. It was also a great idea to have it in the middle of a season where we're not doing very well and springing it on the fans with 3 days to go. It was also a great idea to have just 10,000 commemorative towels, of which the fans had to pay for. None of this made sense. And then you had the little chained off area with the 21 on it. And we decided to let Jackson Mahomes and his people stand in there. So if you're going to have anybody stand in there, should it have been Washington football team, friends, family, stuff like that? No, let's just give it to whoever the fuck, because we don't care. That was one of the worst looks. Didn't even get to the actual retirement ceremony where they have one framed jersey. None of the family got to talk. It was a 1-minute montage, and then it said buy tickets at .com. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. I could not even begin. I went on a just Twitter storm, getting so mad at the organization. Mrinal, you used to work, with Washington. Is this something you just sort of expected to see, or did even this? I mean, Sean Taylor, everyone loves to surprise you. It didn't surprise
I'm not surprised at how badly they fucked it up. I can say that on the show, right?
Yeah, you can, and you did. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, just everything you just said, like the entire embarrassment that it was, doesn't shock me like one bit. I mean, it just goes to show how little things have actually changed. We thought that maybe things in the organization were changing over the last couple of years. No, absolutely not. I mean, as long as Snyder has the final say on some of these things, like nothing's going to change. I mean, even if you had planned it, like they said that, oh, we planned it like months ago and we didn't tell anyone. Even if that was the case, fucking change it. Like now that everyone, even if you planned it, but now everyone thinks that you're doing it to cover up the bad PR, which is what we've come to expect of the Redskins or the football team. Change it. Like, do it weeks later because you know what the outcome is going to be like from the public. So yeah, not surprised at all.
What does planning mean if it doesn't involve notifying the fans, notifying the families, doing something like for the halftime or the, any breaks that they're like, if you were planning, where did all that planning work go? Because it all like nothing looked planned. So if you did plan it, you're admitting that you suck at planning. Because if this took you months, then holy shit, a lot of people should be fired because they don't know how to plan shit. And so it just doesn't make sense. Like, honestly, it would have been, I mean, it's a terrible situation, but this is one of those situations where you turn in something you did the last night and you shouldn't say like, oh, I worked on this for months. No, you should say like, yeah, you know what? I forgot. I turned to this, like I did it last night. My bad. We're going to redo it. We're going to do it well. You can't just back this up by saying this was our intention. That looks worse. If this was your intention, that looks worse. You can't double down on this.
It was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I'm passionate about sports, so it's easily one of the worst things I've seen in sports. Politics don't always get to me like it does to the average person. This got to me at a level so deep because every single one of us loves and adores Sean Taylor. I mean, to the moon and back. KDot, what were your thoughts on this as well? Because I could go on forever. Please go.
It's what you guys are basically saying. It's you're either an evil or you're incompetent. Like you said, you don't necessarily want to make it political. It kind of reminds me of the George Bush administration. Like are you that incompetent or are you evil? Like there's one of two options here that you're looking at when it comes to this organization. Now, the more that I've been thinking about it recently, the more I've been thinking about how much I'm rooting for Jason Wright, how much I'm rooting for everybody, Julie Donaldson, all those people that have taken over a lot of stuff in that front office. But the thing that I'm trying to stay away from, but it reminds me of, is Ryan Lafayette. I don't know if you guys remember that name, but he was the guy that Washington brought in a few years ago to basically be the new team president, CEO, to behind the scenes, getting stuff right. It was with him that they came clean about the season ticket waiting list and how it was a figment of everybody's imagination. He was the guy that told the front office, we need to do the right thing for 100 days. 100 days, do the right thing. Then we signed Reuben Foster where he was still under investigation. And Lafayette was like, I'm out. And it was the mass exodus that came out of Ashburn from that era where people thought that it was going to be a new era, and it wasn't. It was more the same. Jason Wright, in that apology that he made, when word got out that this is what was happening, team announces it, they see the absolute immediate backlash there on Twitter, and then you have Jason Wright tossed out there to try to make things better. And I thought the statement that he made was the best you could do with that situation itself, if I'm trying to feel for him. But even that point, yeah, change the shit. You had the ability to fucking change it. You look at the amount of people that couldn't go because of scheduling that could have easily gone if you'd got Joe Gibbs, who we know Sean meant the world to, couldn't make it. Why? NASCAR's still in effect. If you wait 4 or 5 more weeks, NASCAR's over, he can come. Like shit that's that simple, you can't do. All of it. You're either incompetent or you're fucking evil. That gets me to when you said Raiders, all it did was that I have the theory behind this whole email thing that I think this is a Dan Snyder against the league Cold War that's bulging over, and I think we're going to see more shenanigans happen. But after this, what they've done to the legacy of Sean Taylor and putting together this Hodmod bullshit, you have the family taking photos in front of fucking porta potties with his name. You have Jackson Mahomes, who's a fucking jackass anyway, but you give him, they directed him that. That's not Jackson Mahomes' fault. They told him you could stand there, and everybody knows his TikTok loving ass.
Well, he filmed the TikTok on top of the
21.
I mean, that is his fault.
Hold on, but if they told him, the photo saying when you hear JT Finley and everything, they told him to stand here. You have people inside the stadium that told him stand here. You know Jackson Mahomes, if he's standing anywhere, he's fucking making a TikTok. So you wherever it is, you tell the man to stand. TikToks are fucking happening. Like that to me is how's that overlooked? What kind of oversight is it that you can't take that into consideration? What the fuck is it? Then you have the family, all these people we care about. What for? Calls that none of us is going to be anti. It's retiring Sean's number. We get it. We love Sean. We want this to happen. And then you have fans turning on other fans about, hey man, why we got to turn this into a negative? Why don't we turn it to a positive? It is now fundamentally getting to a point where I know. I just bought tickets today to the Ravens Browns game after Thanksgiving. It might be in the best interest as a fan of the Washington football team to no longer support the Washington football team. I think that's the thing that people need to start understanding. It might be the point where we can't watch them in order for things to change. We have to figure out what it is to take this fucking team back at this point. And the love that I have for them means I might have to turn my back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, right? Like everyone's dealt with a lot. Now, I put out a video a couple of years ago being like Cleveland Browns, like, Dan Snyder, all this stuff. And it didn't feel quite right, you know? So I like tried being a Browns fan for a little bit, but I was like, you know, ultimately my heart's still in Washington, but this fucking hurts, right? Like this really hurts because Mrinal, I know you and I, we grew up right next to each other. We watched every game and it was always about Sean Taylor. KDot, go ahead.
I would tell you that's the thing that you have to reframe your thinking. It's not about, hey, I'm just sick and tired of this. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm just going to go root for someone else. This is, we have a person who's in charge of this organization that is straight up bad. The only way for the bad things to stop happening is if he's gone. How is he gone? It's not fandom in the sense of, oh man, I just want to go root for a team I can support. It's, I can't actively participate in his evil doing anymore. What are we going to do to not participate anymore? That's what we have to figure out. So the onus is on us as fans. We're still fans. Do not support it. That's where I think people's minds need to go to. How do we change the status quo here? How?
Yeah. No, it's a fair question, and heck, maybe District Divided has a conversation. We figure something out together as well.
Yeah, I think with what KDot said, like similarly to when we have thought about how do we change the NFL, right? With all the social issues that have come up in the past 5-10 years, decades, it always ends up being about hurt their pocket, right? Like at the end of the day, that's where it comes. And so with the owner, like I don't know if at this point that's still the route, but I mean, I agree. I think that there's definitely with this one, especially knowing that he's not a loved person in Washington, like this just felt like I have the ability to do whatever and like nothing's gonna happen to me. Like I don't even care about how this looks like, if you know what I mean. Like the sort of the feeling of like no matter what I do, like I'm still gonna be in charge. Like I don't give a shit. And that feels like, somebody who it's almost like this is too much of a comparison, but it's almost like a dictator who just knows that he's going to get the next election. Like, it's fine. Doesn't matter what I do. And so it felt, I don't know, to me, like the picture of him wearing like that XXL hoodie that doesn't fit him. Like, it's just such a demonstration of like, I just don't care. And I know that I'm going to continue to do what I do without caring. And this will have no consequence.
And at that point, it was just comedic, right? Because like we've seen all these other things. And then the photo of Dan Snyder in that XXL hoodie next to the framed jersey of Sean Taylor, who meant a lot to Dan too. That's why I'm so confused by this. Like, it doesn't make sense that it would have to be this way. I know we're always in a scandal. I think that's a given at this point. It doesn't move the needle for any of us. We're just sort of like, okay, cool. What's it this time? Oh, here's the Washington Post subscription. Sure, I'll pay for it. I mean, it just keeps rolling into each other. It's absurd. But to Mrinal's point, to KDot's point, and LC, I think you're alluding to it as well. To your point, change it. It did not need to be against the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, I saw it on Twitter. Some guy had a great idea. Monday night, November 29th against the Seattle Seahawks at home. Why is that a good idea? No. Why is it an amazing idea? Sean Taylor died on November 27th. That is 2 days after the death anniversary. So that makes a lot of sense. Check. Joe Gibbs, who meant the world to Sean Taylor and vice versa. Out of NASCAR season, he could be there. Check. National audience. Everyone's watching that game. You get the Monday night crew interviewing people about Sean Taylor. The whole game could have been about Sean Taylor. Instead, it's 1 p.m. on CBS, or I don't even remember anymore. It was a joke. And people would be home for Thanksgiving. People come home for Thanksgiving. So for those people that it meant the most to, Mrinal, if you're home, I bet we're going. If we know that Sean Taylor is being honored that day, we're going. As much as we dislike this owner, hate the owner, we would have gone for that. And I think other people would have done the same thing. This was completely botched. It was elementary. It was amateur. It was absurd. It was absolutely absurd because I think the four of us could have put together exactly what they did in about a day. It didn't take that much.
I have a question also, and there might be a reasonable answer for this out there. Why did it take 14 years to retire his jersey?
That is an excellent question.
Insane.
Daryl Green.
That's the biggest red flag. Like the thing was, the organization as a whole has a thing against retiring them. They just have. So it was like this year they were talking about what Bobby Mitchell's number, and then Sean's up. Like, okay, I get you got a new team president. They're like, hey, we can do the retired numbers thing, and maybe there was pushback from it. I don't know, but 14 years to the week that the big email scandal is taking place, that is just a red flag. Period. It's just there's no way around that not being a red flag.
Yeah. It's LC in the chat, just for those that obviously can't read it. Is it because it's the year 2021 and his jersey number was 21? And I think that's the closest we got to an answer.
My theory is somebody
in my head. That's the only reasonable explanation.
Somebody thought of that on Tuesday, and they started preparing on Wednesday, and then delivered on Saturday.
They announced it immediately. Yeah.
Just 10 seconds. Is there any way Dan Snyder, after getting fined $10 million and being told that he needed to step away from the team a little bit, decides, you know what? Fuck these guys. Releases, goes to the New York Times with the John Gruden shit. Basically to say, you guys can't fucking touch me anymore. The league then has to run to go to protect Dan, because what happens? If it comes out that the league, who has all the emails, knew about the shit that Dan did, and they decided to give him a $10 million fine and tell him to walk away for 4 months, there's going to be heads that roll. It's rewrites point up. Right now, I think there's a good chance Dan Snyder is flexing nuts. He's basically telling everyone, you can't fucking touch me. None of you can fucking touch me. And if he skates off of this, with what happened in this, what's supposed to be a memorial for Sean Taylor, and he walks away scot-free, that's a fucking travesty.
I think this might actually be a situation where Goodell would have to be gone. Because it seems like, so Snyder and Goodell, I believe, have a pretty good relationship with one another. That's one. And two, no, you don't think so? That's incorrect.
Majorly incorrect. At one point, okay, Jerry Jones and Dan both tried to oust Goodell. They do not like each other.
Okay.
Jeff Pash, because the emails might have liked Bruce Allen quite a bit,
right,
but there's no love lost between Dan and Goodell. Goodell has to protect the owners. That's his job. Protect the owners.
Got it. Okay, so then I didn't even misspeak. I was just flat out incorrect there. But what I will say is that, yes, if it was a $10 million fine and they knew what all happened, right, then I think Goodell would have to be gone, right? Because he's the head of the NFL, and if stuff leaks out, then Goodell is gone as well as Snyder. So maybe Goodell and self-preservation, if we're assuming your theory is correct here, working theory is correct here, then he would be gone, which means it is that Cold War. But anyway, we could talk about this forever. We really could. But let's move on. Let's talk about basketball. The NBA is back. And the Washington Wizards, while we don't have the same star power as we did last year, we still have Bradley Beal. So no Russell Westbrook, still have Bradley Beal. And we have a lot of depth this year that we did not have last year. We got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We got Kyle Kuzma. We got Spencer Dinwiddie, Beal's new backcourt mate. We got Montrezl Harrell, who I am so excited about. He embodies, I've called him the spirit animal of DC. He embodies the DMV area. I think people are going to love him. Got Aaron Holiday. I mean, we got guys that can come off the bench and produce. If someone has an off night, no problem. We got some other guys. Mrinal, I want to begin with you. What are your thoughts on the Wizards this season? And what is your expectation overall for them?
Well, the good thing with the Wizards is that I just have low expectations. So when we do have like a half decent, like low key kind of could be good team, like I'm just going to be pleasantly surprised. I mean, I don't know if you guys had expectations when Westbrook came to DC, but I didn't really see us doing much. We made the playoffs. I mean, that was a pleasant surprise to me. I'm excited. I'm really excited for Trez. I mean, even when he was on the Lakers, I hate the Lakers, but I always fucked with Trez because he's just like his energy. I mean, he's just like running up in people's faces. He's hyping people up from the bench. Like we need someone like that. The crowd feeds off of that shit. So he's going to be great. I'm big on Dinwiddie. I think he's a low-key baller. I mean, a lot of people know that, but I think he's better than a lot of people even think. Obviously, Beal is still there. I don't really know how long. I don't know why he's putting up with with the Wizards for this long. But I do think that with the team that we have, we could surprise some people out there.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very excited about it. I always am, though. I mean, that's just the homer in me. LC, what about you? What are your thoughts about the team this season? Of course, new head coach as well in Wes Unseld Jr.
That's a big part. Like a new head coach, Russell leaving, but also like, after John left. So like there's so much change in the last few years. There's a lot of new players coming. I would love for the Wizards not to care about winning this year and to focus on the process and developing this team. You're not going to win it all this year. Like if you get somewhere semi-far, it's a surprise, like Mrinal said. If you could try to get Wes Unseld Jr.'s plan in play, if we can get him to get his players to play the way he wants, maybe the wins will come later. Maybe the wins will come in the second half of the season. But I think it would be a huge mistake for the Wizards to focus on the record, to be chasing that playoff berth. I mean, of course, it's a sport. You want to win. I understand that. But I don't think that should be their immediate goal. They need to focus on process right now. If you get into the playoffs, because when you work on the process, sometimes the results come, that's wonderful. But this year, I think it should be about team development, should be about thinking which pieces of all of these new pieces, which pieces do we want to keep, which pieces do we want to invest in, which pieces maybe are not such a good fit. And then we can start building on that. But use Bradley as a leader. Don't expect him to just get you to the playoffs and through the playoffs and do something absolutely amazing. He's going to be as good as we know him to be. He's going to be consistent, but use him to develop the rest of your players. Use him as a leader. I think it's a development year. We need to look at it as such and get excited for some of the prospects, but just keep those expectations where Mrinal has them.
Yeah, and of course, we didn't even mention the usual suspects of Rui Hachimura. Now, Deni Avdija entering his second year, rookie and a half season, if you will, because he did miss a whole bunch of last season. And we got Corey Kispert, first-round pick this year. KDot, what about you? Do you agree with LC's assessment there? Like, hey, don't worry about the winning. It's not like we're going to go all the way with this squad. Just focus on the process and let's get this defensive effort right that Wes Unseld Jr. wants.
Not quite. I think you always got to try to win. I think there's some balance. So I mean, I understand getting some of the young guys playing time as the season goes on, but no, win, baby. I think for me, the most interesting part is that I know I've alluded to this before, is knowing that this is for the first time sans injuries. And then you can't even really count that. This is Brad's team, like full stop. This is Brad's team. Like the John Wall cloud that covers over when the contract was here is gone. When Russell Westbrook is on your team, I don't care if he's still trying to be a support player. Unless he's in the room with LeBron, it's his fucking team to a certain degree. At least everybody's going to feed off of that energy. You saw that in all the videos that came out of anything practice, anything like that. They kind of followed him. Right now, when it comes to Beal, which Mrinal pointed to, is that he's not sure why Beal is still here. I still think Beal just wants to be a lifer in DC. I think we've all put it on him that he wants to go the same way we put it on Giannis won the lead Milwaukee. Sometimes you're just happy where you're at. And I think for the most part with Beal right now, if you look at Spencer and the rest of the guys in town, these are his friends. Like these are guys that like they're gonna have fun playing together. And that's what I want to see, is that this is Brad full unleashed. And I want to see what happens with that. I just think it's gonna be fun to watch. My expectations are always right around the same for the Wizards. Playoffs, maybe. So like that's kind of where I'm at. And like as long as they're hovering around there, when knowing how top heavy some of the talent is in the NBA, I'm happy with it. Like unless you got 2 or 3 stars on your fucking team, yeah, I'm usually happy with it. We made the playoffs. Okay.
Yeah, this actually, the more I think about it, this has a. I'm trying to think about a good comp. Maybe a Memphis Grizzlies feel to it, or like a Utah Jazz. Like you got a Donovan Mitchell, you got a Ja Morant, but then it's a bunch of other really solid guys, right? Like we've already mentioned a bunch, but then there's Davis Bertans. Now, if he has that off night, you have options, right? Like that isn't something we had. And the thing about Trez, I could gush about this guy. I mean, he's going to be a lightning rod, right? So if Brad's having a bad game, he's going to make sure the focus is on him. He's like, nah, look at me. I'm getting in your face. I'm your problem. Don't worry about him. Oh, he's going to get going. Brad's going to get going. You know what he's about. Focus on me because I'm about to dunk on you right now. I'm about to block you right now. I'm about to hard foul you right now. And you're going to worry about the interior and let Brad be the multi-dimensional scorer that he is. So from that perspective, from the energy perspective and excitement and the no John Wall cloud, the no Russell Westbrook cloud, seeing how Brad is as the alpha, I am so excited for the sort of the freshness of the moment, the freshness of this team and this season. And I'm so excited to see what this looks like. Hats off to Tommy Shepard, in my opinion, who's done a very good job securing people in the State of the Union. We're going to mention Daniel Gafford, 3-year, $40.2 million deal, emphasizing defense. He did really, really well with us off the trade last season with the Bulls. I am so excited for this. So, KDot, you said playoffs maybe. Mrinal, are you in the same boat? Sort of playoffs maybe, that type of mode?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could probably get a lower seed.
Okay. How low do you think we can get?
I mean, I'm talking about playing in like the play-in games.
All right, it's a 7, something like
Yeah.
that. All right. Elsie, what about you? I want the floor and I want the ceiling of this team.
Oh, I mean, the floor is low. The floor should be like a good, because it's just a lot of unknowns. And so if all the unknowns go badly, then you get a very low floor. Yeah, I think you could definitely miss the playoffs, probably being in like 12th spot. That's the floor. I do think that, the East has gotten a little bit weaker. We don't know what's going to happen with Kyrie. Like, Ben Simmons not in the Sixers. Like, I mean, Bucks, it looks like they're just going to dominate. And so we could squeeze in there into the 6th spot. And so I think that should be a good top. Now, the thing that I wanted to clarify about like the process, of course you want to win, but what I meant was, if you're losing the first 10 games, but you're getting closer to the way you want to play, don't feel like you have to change everything because you lost a lot of games. Does that make sense? Like, I understand that you want to win, but the goal should be to try to play the way we want to play so that then the wins will come.
I mean, good luck telling athletes on an 0-10 team to just trust
we
it.
went 0-6 in the preseason, right? So like, I think the coach knows that, but
I was just wondering if you were getting your Sam Hinkie back. Just the process. We're going to lose for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not Matt with the Nationals, but just be patient. Also, hey, maybe we'll get some cheap tickets because they're not great. So I'll take that as a compensation.
But do you guys really think that Bradley Beal would just put up with losing? Like, just us being a terrible team this year and next year?
No, I don't think he would. I think if we're really bad this year, then no, I think he's gone. And honestly, I would look at him and be a bit confused as to why he's staying. If we were like 12th, for example, and he's like, no, I want to stick around. I'd be like, look, that's great for me. I'm really happy you're doing that. But I personally don't understand. Like, none of us would blame you if you left. Like, that's just one of those things. But I think, so answering the floor ceiling thing, I think the floor is probably 11. And I think that would mean that a lot of the depth guys are just having off seasons together, but there's so many that I don't know that that's actually going to occur. So I do expect this team to, at the minimum, make the play-in, and I think we can go as high as 4. The reason I think we can go as high as 4, again, the emphasis is on defense. And in the regular season, you find some of those star players slacking a little bit. They don't really mind the occasional loss, and it's the teams that are willing to hustle that get those wins, right? I don't know how we'll do against playoff teams once those star players start trying and giving the 100%. So it could be a first round exit with a nice seed, a la the New York Knicks last season. They were tremendous on defense and then just lost to the Hawks. It was as simple as that. So I could see something like that because I do believe Wes Unseld Jr. is going to be a good coach. And I believe, given how many options he has, if some people aren't buying in, he'll just rotate to somebody else. That is no problem at all. And I don't think people are really going to question that. Go ahead, KDot.
Dollar bet. Anybody wanting to take it, regardless of whatever the record is for the Wizards, Brad Beal is back with the Wizards.
Regardless of record. Okay.
Regardless of the record.
So I guess what I'm doing is I'm betting on the record internally and then saying whether Beal's back or not. I'll say he's back.
I think we're actually going to have a decent record. So I think it's going to be good enough to keep him around.
Wait, kidding. Which
so what's the floor for the record that you think Beal would walk? I guess
20. Well, hold on. 28 wins. If we have 28 or lower, I think he's gone. But I don't see 28. Like at least in my head.
That's the thing. It's a tough thing, but I just don't think that we are bad enough. Where I think with Beal looking at this situation, knowing that all right, look, the Wall contract was hell. Then it was, how do we get out of the Wall contract? They were like, they go to Brad last year. They're like, hey, we got an opportunity to flip John for Russ. You want to give that a shot? Okay, gives that a shot. all right, Russ wants to leave. He's going to go to LA to go chase a championship. What do you think is going to happen? Well, I mean, there's some guys out there that I wouldn't mind playing with. How about you make that happen? All right, cool. We're going to make that happen. I just think that he's got an organization when they don't have their hands tied behind their back, actually do try to do things for him. And I think right now, while I do think money in the NBA is slightly overrated, it's more about just creating a landing or a destination spot for anybody to want to come. For more than anything, I just think Brad Beal looks at this as an opportunity to show the rest of the league, I'm having fun. We're playing with effort. You should maybe think about coming to Washington and play with me. That's what I think this year is more than anything else, is Brad Beal sort of auditioning for the rest of the league that, hey, we got a spot here that you can actually come and play, and we can make something out of nothing.
Yeah, and the thing I love, though, so while that's true, he's also auditioning that to his own teammates. And a lot of them having been traded, having been surplus to requirements on other teams, I think they've got a chip on their shoulder as well. So I think it's going to be really, really cool to see this team gel. I'm personally so excited for the season. We begin with the Raptors tonight, Wednesday, as you're seeing this. And we'll get to that in the State of the Union. So why don't we go around real quick? Is there any sleeper team in the NBA or a player? The floor is yours. And then I want an NBA Finals prediction before we get to the State of the Union. KDot, let's begin with you.
Might be biased or whatever. I've got Philadelphia going really, really far without Ben Simmons. I'm squarely in the Philadelphia 76ers camp against Ben Simmons at this particular point. So maybe I'm just hoping this is true. But I want a situation with Ben sitting home, losing money, and the Sixers are still winning fucking games. To dry up what little leverage he thinks he might have is gone, where they're like, we don't even need you. We don't give a shit about your contract. We're still winning games. So that's my pick, and I'm sticking to it. Goddamn, the 76ers are going to be a top 5 CDs, and they're going to treat Ben Simmons like a piece of trash he is. I don't hate you, Ben. I rooted for you a lot. You just disappointed me quite a bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, that whole saga is hilarious. The whole thing's absurd. He shows up. He's got a phone in his pocket. It's abundantly clear he's practicing with a phone in his pocket. Next thing you know, Doc is like, hey, can you get in on this defensive drill? He's like, nah. And he's like, nah, you get in on this drill. He's like, nah. He's like, well, get the fuck out. And he's like, I just left.
The fact that Clutch and him just didn't say he needs a mental day, or he's hurt. Just play it out. They're not even thinking. They don't give a shit right now. And it, to me, sets a precedent for the rest of the league, and it's an issue and a problem that we need to rectify, and it gets rectified here because of the stupidity of Ben Simmons in this game.
Embiid said, I do not care about that man. He does whatever he wants. Those are direct quotes. And he also said, we're not paid to babysit anyone. That is not our job. It seems like there's a pretty big crack in that organization. It's hilarious from being in the same conference, same division. I love it personally. Ben, I hope he figures out his mental stuff. I know he's playing the victim card. That could be a scary place to be as an individual as well, by the way. So just for his own well-being, I hope he can turn that around for himself. But from the outside perspective,
he's a lazy fuck who's embarrassed to look stupid on a basketball court. He's doing the same things he did from the time he first stepped on a basketball court, was using physicality and not learning anything about the goddamn game.
And I told you
can do so much goddamn better.
And I told you last season when we first talked about Ben Simmons, this is who he is. Like, this is just who he is. He doesn't seem interested. But anyway, okay, so you got the 76ers. Who are they playing in the finals?
I didn't say finals. I just said they make top 5.
Oh, okay. Well, give me your finals prediction. You can make
finals prediction. Brooklyn. Let's keep it spicy. Brooklyn Golden State finals.
Okay. Brooklyn Golden State. And who wins?
Golden State.
Golden State. All right. Golden State back on top, according to KDot. And Philadelphia thrives without Ben Simmons, while Ben Simmons is at home, not traded at all. Love that. Elsie, your turn. What do you got?
So obviously I love Facu. There's a couple other Argentinians in the league that we can cover some other time. But I actually think that the sleeper team is not so much a sleeper because they did make the playoffs, but the Nuggets, Jamal Murray is not back yet. He hurt himself, I think it was April of last year. He had an ACL tear. So they have no timeline. But if the Nuggets manage to do well, okay, in the first half of the season, and then you add Jamal Murray to that, I think that'll be a really interesting playoff run. I think they will make the playoffs. I remember in the year that the COVID year where there was no fans and whatnot, like they had a really good playoff run. And I think that if you have a team that's working and you add that piece, then that can become a really, really good contender in the West, which I think is so much more stacked than the East. I mean, what? Oh my God. I don't know. Except for the finals, like obviously in the finals, the two best teams meet. But if we had playoffs in some way, like match the East and the West, there will be nothing left.
Nothing but West of the East.
It would just be nothing. Anyway, for the finals, I think the Bucks are just going to continue to dominate in the East and get there. Something about Brooklyn, like I thought that they were going to be the absolute shit. And obviously they had plenty of issues that prevented them from doing that. But have those problems gone away? Like, I don't know, man. We don't know what's going to happen with Kyrie. It's not like James Harden is getting any better. And like at the end of the day, it's going to be about Kevin Durant and what he can do. So I think the Bucks will come out of the East. On the West, I think the Golden State is a good pick, but I can't look at a team with LeBron, AD, and Russell and not bet on them. I know they're getting up there in their age, I know, but I can't not bet on that team. So I'm gonna go with Lakers, Bucks. Who wins? Fuck, that's a hard one. I'm gonna give it to LeBron. LeBron will take it, and then just that's it. LeBron,
he rides
home.
off into the sunset. He retires on that. He's like, can't do this shit anymore.
Come back when Bronny Jr. is in the league. Come back for one game and then just retire again.
Love the narrative there. All right, so Lakers over Bucks is what Elsie has, with the Nuggets being a very dangerous team. I like that sleeper pick. Mrinal, floor is yours. What do you think of this NBA season?
Man, I actually agree with a lot of what y'all were just saying. I actually think Philly gets better with attrition. I mean, Ben Simmons is a fucking clown. I've enjoyed like everything that's unfolded. I personally, I know he's a good defensive player and all that. I just never even understood why like people hyped him up that much. I never even thought the dude was that good. But I don't know. I think in the East, I think a sleeper team, low key, is the Bulls. They're not gonna win the East, but I think they're gonna be competitive and be pretty good this year. I don't want to say the Nets.
The Bulls got who did they get?
They got Lonzo Ball. They got a couple other guys as well. I'm blanking.
Was it Kyle Lowry? No.
Was it who?
Kyle Lowry? No. Where did Lowry?
No,
go?
they didn't get Kyle. He went to Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, but it was Lonzo.
Different red team.
One other guy I'm forgetting right now. They weren't my sleeper team, but go ahead, Mrinal.
Okay.
Actually, I really like Miami too. I'm a big Jimmy Butler guy.
And he's a big Rachel Nichols guy. Go ahead.
I'm a big Rachel Nichols guy too. Let's see. It's going to be hard to not say Brooklyn, but I don't know. I kind of want to see them fail too. I'm going to go with, I'll say Philly makes it to the finals this year without Simmons. And then from the West, as much as I love the Suns, I don't think they're going to repeat last year's magic. That was a crazy run. It was like a once in a many years type of thing. I like the Nuggets a lot. But it's hard to say that LA is not going to make it with the way that LeBron's been kind of putting the pieces together. This is probably his year. So
okay.
As much as I hate to say it, yeah, I would say the Lakers win.
Lakers, Sixers, Lakers win. All right. To round it out, I got a sleeper team. I got a rookie of the year, and I've got my finals pick. So sleeper team, New York Knicks. They got themselves Derrick Rose. They got themselves Kemba Walker. And there are a lot of UConn fans that are very, very excited by that. RJ Barrett looks like he's primed to have a really, really good season for them. And Julius Randle's still there. So I really like this Knicks team that played well defensively last season and fell a bit short. They went against Trae Young, who had a phenomenal series, bowed at the Garden. What a show, man. Love Trae Young. But I do think the Knicks are actually going to make a pretty deep run here. But they will end up falling to the Milwaukee Bucks. I do think the Milwaukee Bucks are coming out of the East. There are now videos of, I know we got Ben Simmons summer workout videos where it's like, oh, he can hit threes when literally no one's there. And then there's Giannis, who's now doing it in the preseason. It's starting to get frightening. Like, he's still getting better. It makes He should not be allowed to be getting better, but he is. So I've got the Milwaukee Bucks coming out of the East. And in the West, I subscribe to three-point shooting, and I subscribe to the idea that Donovan Mitchell has some Mamba in him. So I've got the Utah Jazz and Donovan Mitchell willing these guys past the likes of the Lakers, the likes of the newly invigorated Golden State Warriors. Shout out Otto Porter, Georgetown legend. I mean, I genuinely think they are going to get past everybody. And
you really liked them last year, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
They ended up getting cold, and Donovan, I think, had a great series. It just wasn't enough. I liked him last year. I'm doubling down. I like him again this year. Utah Jazz, Milwaukee Bucks. Rudy Gobert does just enough to slow down Giannis, and the Utah Jazz are your NBA champions. That is my pick. And now we're going to conclude with the State of the Union. Rookie of the Year real quick, Davion Mitchell. I'm really, really upset we did not get him. He went to the Sacramento Kings, another sleeper team. They got Tyrese Halliburton. They got De'Aaron Fox, who's so high on Davion Mitchell. Mitchell's already an amazing defender in the NBA. Forget college. In the NBA, he's going to be an amazing defender and take away the opponent's best offensive threat. We're going to move on to the State of the Union, your DC Sports wraparound coverage segment, beginning with the Washington Spirit, who have had an insane year. I know you guys are well aware. Ownership has been crazy. Steve Baldwin is finally selling the team. By the end of the year, Steve Baldwin will no longer be the owner of the Washington Spirit, and the Spirit celebrated that fact by going to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. That will occur in November. Congratulations to the Washington Spirit, who since their head coach, Richie Burke, was gone and ousted due to verbal assault and things of that nature. What a year they've had. My God, they have not lost a game. They've had a couple COVID forfeits, but they have not lost. They've been beating really good teams. Man, they are on fire right now.
What a case study on the mental aspect of sports.
I
always talk about that, but man, it's amazing.
We'll do a full episode on just the mentals because it is crazy.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. They got one final game on Halloween, but we'll give you more details at that time. But it really is just a playoff positioning game. They have an outside chance at a first-round bye, as crazy as that sounds. But yeah, the Spirit. Congratulations to them. First time since 2016. Playoff bound. On to men's soccer. DC United, 5 games left in the season, and the standings are really, really tight. I mean, they've got 41 points, and the two teams right below them, 40 points, New York City FC and the New York Red Bulls with 5 games left in the season. Currently in 6th place, top 7 make the playoffs. There are 2 games this week. First against the New England Revolution tonight at 7:30 p.m. For those that don't know, the New England Revolution are far and away the best team in the MLS. So that is a tough game. And then Saturday against New York City FC at 7:30 p.m. Both games can be seen on DCUnited.com. Now onto the ice, the Washington Capitals 1-1 so far this season, but Alex Ovechkin continues to do Alex Ovechkin things at age 36. He is now, my God, 3 goals in the first 2 games and is now 5th all-time in scoring with 804 goals. Okay, he's now 40 back of Brett Hull and Jaromir Jagr, who once played for the Washington Capitals. How many more will he get this week? Well, he's got 3 games to show you. Against the Colorado Avalanche at the time of this recording, then the New Jersey Devils on Thursday at 7 p.m., and the Calgary Flames on Saturday at 1 p.m. Those games can be seen on NBC Sports Washington. The Wizards, you'd mentioned Daniel Gafford getting that 3-year, $40.2 million extension. Congratulations to him. Great to have him on long-term. And their season starts tonight. We play the Toronto Raptors at 7:30 p.m. Pascal Siakam is out, so golden opportunity to start off 1-0. And then the home opener is against the Indiana Pacers on Friday at 7 p.m. And then they go to Brooklyn to play the Nets, where Kyrie Irving will not be playing, at 7:30 p.m. on Monday. All games can be seen on NBC Sports Washington. Georgetown basketball. Aminu Mohammed has been named Big East preseason freshman of the year. This is the first time that has happened for Georgetown since Greg Monroe in 2008. So this is a big deal to get the Big East preseason freshman of the year. We'll see if he can actually become the Big East freshman of the year like James Akinjo did 2019. And then we conclude with everyone's favorite, the Washington football team. They play at 1 p.m. against the Green Bay Packers at legendary Lambeau Field. KDot and I will release the preview show where we'll talk no scandals, just numbers, and just feel for the team. But yeah, if you wanted additional updates, they botched the Sean Taylor jersey retirement. As you know, they're riddled in scandal right now. We'll see if emails get released, but it is fascinating, petty drama for all you guys. So just kick back, relax, and enjoy some passive drama with our Washington football team. And this is District Divided, a DC sports podcast releasing every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Thank you guys so much for listening. I am Amit. That is LC. That is KDot. And that is guest Mrinal Widge. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Mrinal, you have a good time today?
Oh, hell yeah, man. Always love shooting the shit with you guys.
Well, you're welcome back anytime. And next time we'll get you on with Matt as well, because I know you got a few things to say to him.
Can't wait to come back Thanksgiving game and Mercedes Lewis, all y'all on the field again.
Shout out, Lexi.
I'm glad that Ronald got to take some time off of his Instagram influencer lifestyle with half-naked white women on yachts, just jet-setting all over the fucking world.
By the way,
the amount of venereal diseases in his Instagram is incredible.
In his Instagram. Mrinal, why don't you plug that Instagram with all the venereal diseases? Go ahead.
Yeah, just follow me at Shy Wizzy if what Kadeen just said sounds appealing to you. You'll be very entertained.
You will. I can attest to that. One of the most impressive individuals.
I can't confirm or refute the claim of the diseases.
All right. On that note, District Divided, bringing you all sorts of stuff. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.